Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Jacqueline Bissacer-McKenzie, says it's too early to celebrate the decrease in COVID-19 cases.
We have seen a decline in the positivity rate, we have seen a decline in the reproductive rate, and we have seen a decline in hospitalizations. But these declines that we are seeing is early. We cannot, jump up for joy now, because we really need to tighten up to get the numbers down more.
Still tonight, the search for missing teacher from Clarendon, Natalie Dawkins, ended in heartbreak yesterday following the discovery of a woman's remains in the parish.
It's extremely sad and heartbreaking. Can't even find words to really tell you how we're feeling at this time.
After processing everything, can we really say, come Monday morning, it's business as usual? I should think not.
And St. Vincent's La Soufrière volcano erupted today, the first time since 1979. Good evening. Jamaica recorded 15 additional COVID-19 related deaths yesterday, while 239 new cases of the virus were also recorded. The total of confirmed cases now stands at 41,843, with the death toll currently at 661. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, 8 of the deaths were from Kingston and St. Andrew and includes 6 males aged 70, 61, 65, 68 and 79 and 2 women aged 64 and 98. 3 of the deaths were from St. Catherine, 2 men aged 69 and 78 and a 60-year-old woman. The other deaths were of a 67-year-old woman from St. Elizabeth, an 81-year-old man from St. James, a 61-year-old man from Portland, and a 78-year-old man from Hanover. Of the 239 new cases, there were 103 females and 136 males, ranging in age from 8 days to 100 years. The cases were recorded in St. Catherine with 78, Kingston and St. Andrew recorded 70 cases, St. Thomas 26, Portland 17, St. James 11, Clarendon 10, Manchester and St. Anne 7 cases each, St. Elizabeth 5 cases, Westmoreland recorded 4, while St. Mary and Hanover recorded 2 cases each. The island also recorded 124 recoveries, taking the total of recovered persons now to 18,690. In other news tonight, Chief Medical Officer CMO in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Dr. Jacqueline Bissacer-McKenzie, says it's too early to celebrate as the COVID-19 cases decrease. Dr. Bissacer-McKenzie, during yesterday's Ministry of Health and Wellness COVID-19 press conference, said that in the next 30 days, a decrease in the number of cases is expected.
And just to show you what it means if we can keep the reproductive rate below 1, so at 0.9, what we're expecting to see now in another 30 days is a decrease in the number of cases. When we were at 1, we expected that the number of cases would remain about the same. At 0.9, we expect to see a downward trend. And certainly if we get it down to 0.7, then we would be more where we want to be in the green zone here, where we, in another 30 days or so, we'd be expecting our numbers to be below 100.
Now the CMO, in crediting the decline in COVID-19 cases to the tighter measures implemented by the government, recommends that the measures continue until at least June, when the numbers are expected to decline to the single digits.
We have seen a decline in the positivity rate, we have seen a decline in the reproductive rate, and we have seen a decline in hospitalizations. But these declines that we are seeing is early. It's early, and we cannot, jump up for joy now, because we really need to tighten up to get the numbers down more. Even though we've seen a decline in positivity rate, and we see that that's about maybe about 30%. Remember that where we want to get to be is 5%. So there's a lot of way to go. In terms of we believe that this is a direct result of the restrictions imposed that have decreased the movements, and we believe that the restrictions should continue to solidify the downward movement. The expectation is that with vaccination of our vulnerable population by the end of June, that we can more expect at that time to see a sustained decrease in the hospitalizations.
Dr. Bisaser Mackenzie also explained that we still face the risk of the numbers increasing.
However, we do face some risk of that not happening if there is decreased compliance during the period between the vaccines. Please remember that after the first vaccine, there is a low efficacy rate. It's just a small reduction in the number of cases that you would see if you had never taken the vaccine. So persons must maintain their precautions. If it is that there is still a risk of infection, then our vulnerable groups, if they decrease their precautions, then they are likely to become infected, and this would certainly prevent what we expect to happen in terms of decrease in numbers and decrease in hospitalizations. Another risk that we face is poor take-up of the vaccine by our vulnerable groups. Now, we know that persons have been coming out, but we still need persons to come out more to ensure that everybody gets the vaccine. At least 65% of each of the target groups need to get the vaccine. We also have a risk that there could be importation of variant strains from other countries, but also within country, if our numbers continue to increase, the more positive cases you have is a more multiplication of the virus and the more opportunity for mutations.
In the meantime, Jamaica yesterday, April 8, received its third shipment of the AstraZeneca vaccines to help in the fight against the coronavirus COVID-19. Now the shipment, totaling 75,000 doses, arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport and were accessed through the African Medical Supply Platform. Accepting the shipment, Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton thanked the government and the people of South Africa and the African Medical Supply Platform for the donation.
The intention is to utilize this vaccine in the major blitz that we're having this weekend. It's the first national rollout. You will recall we have had 2 Saturdays at the National Arena. Those were used to expose the entire system across the country to what the model should look like and to learn from it and tweak it. We think we're now in a position to have a national rollout, which will mean every parish, in some instances, multiple locations in parishes. And we're targeting probably 50,000 or so persons over a 3 to 4 day period. So we're starting on Saturday and we go back to Monday, possibly Tuesday. In the meantime, the other health centers will be open doing their regular vaccination. In this instance, we're collaborating with members of parliament, with the local municipal authorities, with the church fraternity, the Citizens Association. We're essentially saying to all of Jamaica, if you are 60 years and over, get registered. The website, the toll-free line. If you can not get registered, even though we would prefer that, still visit our site and we'll try to process you on the given days. And we are also, this time around, including other groups, our teachers. Why our teachers? Because we have to start planning to get back into the classroom. And our children are waiting on that. And we are anxious as a government to ensure that the education system begins to function in a normal way.
Dr. Tufton also said that second doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will be administered sometime in May, while they're seeking to acquire the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that will only require 1 dose.
The AstraZeneca vaccine allows for a second dose to be administered between 8 and 12 weeks after the first dose. Everyone that has received the vaccine has been given a card, and it has been logged as to when they got it, the first dose, and they are going to be notified around the time for the second dose. But we should start administering second doses sometime in May, early May. So we are very conscious of what we're receiving to know when to hold for second dosage. And that data is tracked, monitored, and then we reach out. We are, however, seeking to increase the proportion of Johnson & Johnson's. And we are now in deep conversation with manufacturers to see if we can change out to Johnson & Johnson, which is a single dose vaccine. And the reason for that is that having a single dose is far better to administer than having someone go and then have to come back. So we already are in line to get some Johnson & Johnson. We're looking at the possibility of getting more, which would make the task that much easier.
In other news tonight, the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Southern Regional Health Authority will host a vaccination blitz in the parishes of Clarendon, Manchester, and St. Elizabeth for persons aged 60 years and older and employees from the Department of Correctional Services, Jamaica Fire Brigade, PICA, and Jamaica Customs, tourism workers, teachers, and other employees of educational institutions from Saturday, April 10 to Monday, April 12. In the parish of St. Elizabeth on Saturday, April 10, 2021, at the Independence Park in Black River and at the Junction Health Center, and Sunday, April 11, 2021, at the Santa Cruz Health Center. In Manchester on Saturday, April 10 and Sunday, April 11 at the Mandeville Regional Hospital, and Saturday, April 10, Sunday, April 11 and Monday, April 12 at the Manchester High School in Mandeville. Persons 60 years and older should register using the online portal on the ministry's website at www.moh.gov.jm or by calling the National Vaccination Hotline at 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. Members of the other priority groups will be registered through their respective organizations. Now, in an update, the search for missing teacher from Clarendon, Natalie Dawkins, ended in heartbreak yesterday after the remains of a woman were found in the Sandy Bay area of the parish, which has left her family and colleagues in great anguish. The remains were found yesterday afternoon in bushes in an undeveloped area used for illegal dumping. Scores of persons, including search volunteers and residents, gathered at the scene as word of the discovery spread. Our news team was on the scene until late yesterday evening and saw personnel from a funeral home remove a bag filled with bones. A group of teachers who were colleagues of Ms. Dawkins at the Four Paths Primary School in Clarendon, who were at the scene, expressed anger and frustration at the outcome.
We came out and we searched for our colleagues, and even though this may be the end of the road, it is what it is. It's extremely sad and heartbreaking. Can't even find words to really tell you how we're feeling at this time. However, we're still waiting on the police to complete their testing and to help us to get that closure that we were really searching for when we started searching on Saturday. So we're still standing together as a group, and we will brave the worst as a group.
After processing everything, can we really say, come Monday morning, it's business as usual? I should think not.
President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Mr. Jasford Gabriel, also condemned the attack on the teacher.
We were hoping and praying as a nation, and especially across the teaching profession, that by some miraculous means, Natalie would have been found alive, be able to unite with her family and friends and colleagues, and more than all, be able to continue the tremendous work she had been doing for over 20 years, positively impacting the lives of thousands of our impressionable minds. The gruesome nature of her death is yet another stark reminder of the total breakdown of morality and disregard for life in our society. Teaching is the most noble profession. When we can begin to turn on our teachers in a manner like this, we know, if we didn't know before, that we need divine intervention.
Natalie Dawkins went missing last Tuesday. She was abducted from her home in Four Paths, Clarendon by men who also stole her vehicle. 2 men were shot, one fatally, in a shootout with police in St. Catherine after they were found with the teacher's car. The police say they have several suspects in custody in relation to their investigations. Now, another colleague of Ms. Dawkins said that they are yet to hear from the Minister of Education in light of the incidents.
Can we really go back into the classroom after all that we have been through last week and this week? We have not yet heard anything from the Minister of Education. She have not addressed us as a group. She have not addressed the matter of the missing teacher. We heard from the JTA. We have seen the teacher come together as one unit to work along with the police. We have seen the principals. We have seen other organizations join in, but we have not heard anything from the minister. While we are waiting to get confirmation from the police, we're also waiting to hear something from the ministry.
The regional director, somebody.
In the meantime, the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, says she is alarmed at the cruelty of the abduction and murder of Natalie Dawkins, whose body was found in Sandy Bay, Clarendon. Now, the minister, in a statement yesterday evening, said, quote, "The tragic loss of life of any Jamaican is always regrettable. This death cuts very close to home, however. Jamaica has lost a vibrant educator in Miss Dawkins, who was contributing so much to building the lives of Jamaica's children for the past 20 years. It is a wicked act," end quote. She added that all Jamaicans need to look within and question their roles and power in counteracting the culture of violence and murder affecting our society. She expressed shock at the continued abuse of women and children and the seeming normalizing of violence in our culture. Minister Williams also said it is incumbent on citizens who may be aware of anything that could help the police in their investigations to share that information. She added that it is our duty as Jamaicans to protect our society from those who seek to execute wicked acts on the innocent. Still making the news tonight, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is mourning the murder of Natalie Dawkins and is calling on Jamaicans to share information with the authorities. Prime Minister Holness expressed that the entire nation is deeply saddened and distraught at the news of the discovery of the body of primary school teacher Natalie Dawkins and offered his deepest condolences to teacher Dawkins's immediate family and loved ones.
The entire nation is deeply saddened and distraught at news of the discovery of the body of primary school teacher Natalie Dawkins. While we all closely followed the developments surrounding Natalie's disappearance for the past week or so, like many Jamaicans, I prayed and hoped for positive news, even as we acknowledge that there could be an unwanted outcome. I offer my deepest condolences to Teacher Dawkins' immediate family and loved ones. The education sector, as you know, is near and dear to my heart. And I know that our school and indeed the entire teaching fraternity is now grieving the loss of an educator, a nation builder, a colleague and friend.
He also thanked the diligent investigative efforts of the JCF and the support of stakeholders such as the JTA, as the suspected perpetrators have been arrested and important evidence recovered.
Thanks to the diligent investigative work and the effort of the JCF and the support of stakeholders like the JTA, which I wish to commend them for their very active support, the suspected perpetrators have been arrested and important evidence recovered. You know, in such crimes, it is difficult to predict and anticipate their occurrence. Nevertheless, the government believes that by increased information flow between citizens and law enforcement, more preventative actions can be taken in the future. It is often the case that someone is aware of or suspects the action of the potential perpetrator before the actual crime is committed. We need to start making conscientious decisions to alert the police or other authorities of suspicious actions in our own communities or even of persons close to us. The lives we save could be both that of the victim and the perpetrator.
Prime Minister Holness urged all Jamaicans to be alert and ready to share what they know with the authorities as part of their civic duty.
The government has invested heavily in the intelligence, forensic, and cyber capabilities of the police to solve crime, and we are seeing this reflected in the quick response in the interdiction of perpetrators. This, coupled with timely trials and fittingly strong sentences, will send an unequivocal signal to the criminal element that crime does not pay, and perpetrators will be caught and dispatched to justice. I therefore urge all Jamaicans to be alert, attuned, and ready to do your civic duty in sharing what you know with the authorities. The information you share may save your own life or that of the teacher of your children.
In other news tonight, the opposition's Shadow Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, is calling on the government to make proper representation for Jamaican students to be allowed to defer all aspects of their Caribbean Examination Council CXC exams until January or June of 2022. Dr. Brown-Burke said that her concerns come in light of complaints from students and teachers that, contrary to previous understandings, students who initially thought they had the ability to defer are now being told that the rule only applies to written exams and that SBAs should still be submitted this year. Dr. Brown-Burke is insisting that education in Jamaica has been significantly impacted by COVID-19, and while some schools were allowed to reopen for face-to-face classes, many students have not had in-person teaching since March 2020. She further noted that many of our students have missed half of the last school year and almost all of the current one, and are therefore at a disadvantage in comparison to students from other Caribbean islands. Dr. Brown-Burke said that she is calling on the Ministry of Education to acknowledge that our students have faced significant and unequal odds over the last several months and are deserving of the government's full support to give them a fair shot at attaining the best CXC grades possible and a secure future. Still in the news tonight, 24-year-old Giovanni Bent, otherwise called Gringo, of Wild Cane, Cave Valley, St. Anne, has been missing since March 23. He is of brown complexion, slim build, and approximately 5 feet 11 inches tall. He sports a cornrowed hairstyle. Reports from the Cave Valley Police coming into our news center are that Bent was last seen leaving home. His mode of dress at the time he went missing is unknown. All efforts to contact him have proven futile. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Giovanni Bent is being asked to contact the Cave Valley Police at 876-503-1111, Police Emergency 119, or the nearest police station. We go to news from St. Catherine now. 3 men are in custody in connection with the fatal shooting of 27-year-old Shatik Hall, a bus conductor and construction worker of Christian Penn, Portmore, at his home on Monday, April 5. Reports from the Portmore police coming into our news center tonight are that at approximately 8 p.m., Hall was at home when he was called outside by armed men who opened fire, hitting him several times. The police were alerted and Hall was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The 3 men were taken into custody following the incident. However, their identities are being withheld pending further investigations. And those are some of the stories making news. We will return with other stories as St. Vincent's La Soufrière volcano erupted at 8:41 a.m. today, the first time since 1979. And Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the PNP expresses support and solidarity with the people of St. Vincent. But first, we'll take a break and then it's over to Christopher Scott with the very latest in sports.